So let's take a look at some of the sort of intermediate features of Google Docs that I want you to do for this particular assignment. And remember, we're going to be looking at like table of contents, the use of bookmarks, changing styles, in particular headings. We're going to be looking at how to modify footers and link to things in the footer. We're talking about why we would use a page break, and then just the general use of tables as something that is a great way to organize, both for you as a teacher and for your students to possibly use as graphic organizers. So in the assignment, I had given you the formatted version of this performance task to look at, and so I just want to quickly make sure that you can manipulate this to create your own version of a document that could be longer, that you could use for a unit plan, for a syllabus, for meeting notes, whatever it is that you would want it to be. So in this case, imagine that, and you saw in the sample that there was a table of contents. So imagine we want this ELA literacy performance task. So one of the simple tools was to change the text to anything but Arial size 11. So notice I already have this as Droid Sans size 12, but imagine I want to bump that up to 24. I want to center that perhaps. So up there I can, and notice if you hover with your cursor, it'll tell you what each of these things in the menu bar, editing bar can do for you. I'm going to hover over text color and I'm going to change it to something like a nice blue. So now I've just noticed I've resized, I've centered, and I've changed the color. So, and this little thing, it's just a goofy little feature that I love. It's called Insert Horizontal Line, and it just gives you some space. So imagine our performance task here, we have as the title, but maybe I want that to be part of the header. So if I say Insert Header, I can then copy this if I want, and I can paste it into my header. And so when you do that, you'll notice that it becomes part of my entire document. So it becomes very clear to everybody who is on this that this is an ELA literacy performance test. So I could do something like let's say I want to move this page down to its own page because I want to add a table of contents. Well, there's two ways to do this. I can say Insert, and notice down towards the bottom I have page break, but you also see I'm on a Mac, it shows Command Enter, which I believe is Control Enter on a PC. So I'm a quick key guy, so I'm going to do Command Enter. And notice what it did. It shot this thing down to the next page. That is a page break, which you could do just by entering, but the advantage of using the page break is that it essentially pins it there. So if I start to type up here, which we're going to do for the table of contents, it will not move this page down further. And so it'll start to make sense as we do more of this. So I've got nothing yet to put in my table of contents because I haven't formatted the styles. And these are your styles right here. And so we have to use headers to be able to insert our table of contents. So I'm going to scroll down here and say, okay, I'm actually going to grab this thing right here and I am going to change it to heading 1. And notice what it did. It shot that down a little bit. It reformatted it down to Times New Roman size 14, which is fine. So, but it's now a heading. So notice when I click in this, instead of saying normal text, it says heading 1. And so I'm going to scroll down into my document for the sake of finding text number 1. And again, with the page breaks, we want each thing, like it would be a separate topic or a separate assignment. I want it to be on its own page so it's easier for the kid or the adult to navigate. So again, I'm going to do a quick page break. And then in order for this to be part of my table of contents, I'm going to have to also change this to heading 1. Because what you will find out is that the table of contents is tied to the headings. So I'm going to go down through text 1. I'm going to do this just one more time so it should make sense to you. Let me find text 2. Oh, there's text 3, so somewhere I missed text 2. Okay. Well, that's awesome. I don't know where text 2 is. There it is, text 2. Okay, hero or trader. So again, just do a quick page break. I could do insert. Let me undo that. I'll do it this way, insert page break. It's the same thing. So now text 2, I'm also going to have to change 2 and the styles to heading 1. Now imagine that I had changed, I'm going to text 3 was easier to find. Text 3, political cartoon, click on that, insert, page break. There we go. So now it's really starting to organize itself. And text 3, imagine I did text 3 as heading 2. Okay, so what I've just done is I've used page breaks. We've added a header. I'm going to go back up to the top because wherever I want to put this table of contents, my cursor has to be, it's going to insert wherever my cursor is bouncing. So now you can see my cursor is bouncing on the center of the blank page that we had set for this ELA performance task. Now, we've applied a couple page breaks, but also we've changed styles. So we've added a couple headers. So now, watch how simple this is. So if I go up to Insert, the very last thing I see is table of contents. And I have two choices here. I have the ability to change the table of contents with page numbers or just with links. I'm going to go with page numbers. So when I click that, watch what happens. So now notice, we've got our ELA literacy performance task, and that's on page 2. Text 1 is on page 4. Text 2 is on page 6. And text 3 is on page 9. And notice, text 3 is indented. Remember, we made that heading 2. Well, we don't necessarily want text 3 heading 2 because it should be on the same level as text 1 and 2. So I can do a couple things. So what the table of contents does is when I click on it, it allows me to go right to that heading. How cool is that? And so I'm going to highlight that, and I'm just going to change it to heading 1. And I'm going to go back up to the top, and you're going to notice here that it is still indented. So when I click inside of the table, what I want you to notice here is that there's a little box around the table, and then I have the ability to update table of contents. And by updating table of contents, now I just changed that text 2 back to the text 1, and now I've got a nice design of my table of contents. And so another thing that I want you to add are bookmarks, and it's not going to make a ton of sense right now, but you're going to have to trust me here. I'm going to click here to text 1. I'm going to go to text 1. And right where I have my heading change, I'm also going to say Insert Bookmark. And I want you to have this ability, and I'll explain it in a minute, but a bookmarking and heading is essentially creating a place on the document. And that's fine, just hold that thought right there. But you can see when I have a bookmark, it looks like a literal bookmark sitting there. So I've added, that's how I add bookmarks. I can add them anywhere. I can do it to text 2 if I want as well. So I can just click next to text 2, and I can say Insert, and I can say Bookmark. And I'm gonna show you how to link to both headings and bookmarks. So there's a reason that I'm having you bookmark here. Okay, so we have just used table of contents. We've just added bookmarks. I've showed you how to do styles by using the heading for organizing. Now what we want to do is notice the table of contents is sort of a one-way deal. It only goes down. It doesn't go back up. So why not use something to have it go back up? And we've already used a header by adding the ELA performance task. So now I'm going to say Insert Footer. And here, notice, then it adds space at the bottom that is going to occur all over. So I'm going to create an organization. I call something like the task description or top of page. So I'm going to say task description. And then I'm just going to space 5. And I'm going to say task 1. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, task 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, task 3. So as you can see, all I'm doing is just typing. I can make these whatever I want. And so when I highlight task description, here's where it becomes cool. So notice I've highlighted task description, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to link to this. So I'm going to go up here and I'm going to click Insert Link. And because I have headings and bookmarks now, instead of just hyperlinking out to somewhere outside, I can link right inside my document. So I could link to some of those headers that I added that we used for table of contents, but I can also link to bookmarks if I don't necessarily want to use headings. So I'm going to link this to, actually to task description. I didn't have that. I'm going to have to link that to the header, which I didn't really want to, but I will. Heading. There it is, click apply, and now I'm going to highlight task 1, because we did add a bookmark there, link, bookmark, text 1, apply. Now notice, if I go down to text 1 here, it takes me down here, and then if I get to the bottom of that page, oh, I want to go back up to the task description, I've included that in my footer. So I can now use bookmarks to link to footers. I could also do that with headers as well. But now I have a document that goes in both directions. So the bigger it gets for either the peer or the kid, they have the ability to easily navigate from top to bottom on this document, which is kind of a cool thing. And so we really the last thing that I want to make sure that you get a handle on are just tables. And I use tables very simply for instructions. So imagine I'm going to replicate this document color key, and notice it's just a 2-column, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 row table. And so I could replicate this, and imagine I want to add document color key as part of the table. So instead of it being 5 rows, I'm going to make it 6. And I can do something like this. I can go to Tables, Insert Table, and I can literally just drag out what I want. 2 columns, what did I say? Instead of 5 rows, we want 6. That's one way to do it. I could also say Insert, and Table should be one of my options here as well. Table, and then it's going to give me the same thing. 2-column, and I'm going to go with 6 rows. So now what I want is I don't want document color key to only be on one of the columns. I want it to be over both. So let me show you a quick trick. If I highlight both, I can right click or 2-finger click on my trackpad, and I can merge these cells. That way I can bring in document color key here, and copy it from here. I can paste it into here, and if I want to, I can center it. And now I've got my document color key, and I modified my table a little bit. And so notice I could just very quickly, I hope, grab these, copy these, paste these in there, and now I've got my table. Now imagine I was using, notice color key, I was using a different color when I gave instructions for the teacher, for the student, etc. Well, when I'm inside of a cell, I can go up and look for the paint bucket, which is right there for the background color, and I can click on that and I can fill it with a nice light color. And that's very easy to do. So I love using tables for graphic organizers. All you do is insert tables if you want to modify cells in the table. So you can have a table that doesn't have nice evenly spaced columns. You can merge cells together if you want. But this was a real quick look at how to do table of contents, bookmarks, change the styles, adding footers, linking to different things like bookmarks or headings. We did page breaks, and we added tables. So that was a real quick run through. I hope that it's enough for you to be able to complete the assignment. If not, feel free to leave questions and we will get you some help. Thanks so much.